My name is Nito, and in this video, I wanted to share my XJW story, why I got in, and eventually why I had to get out and start fading. It all started in my last year of high school. I started dating one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and this girl was the most wonderful person I had ever met. I was determined to have her in my life. We completed high school and got our first jobs together. Her parents were very opposed to our relationship. When she decided to go to college after high school, her father started charging her rent. We decided as a couple that for a little more, she can get her own apartment. As we continued dating, we found ourselves sneaking around town so we wouldn't be seen together. I felt that in order for our relationship to continue growing, it was best that I should join her religion, so I started studying. As my studies started, I started to see how much time commitment was required of Jehovah's Witnesses. When they say you devote your life, they mean your whole life, your future, your resources, everything. I was studying every Saturday and I was going to the meetings every Sunday. But then it was the service meeting, the school. At the time it was a Bible study and the Watchtower study. And of course, like as I mentioned, the Sunday meeting. And that's not counting Kingdom Hall maintenance, special projects, renovations. So after about a year of studying, I got baptized at I guess they were called regional assemblies. It was a 2-day event on a Saturday, then a Sunday. We also had, at the time, I don't know if they still have them, they were special day assemblies, which were just one day. And then you have the big conventions that are 3 days. So I got baptized, and after about a year, we got married. We were only 22 when we got married. I moved into the apartment, and by that time, my wife's college career had ended long before that, between the cost of tuition and books, not to mention the time commitment of the religion. The classes had to stop. So we felt maybe vocational school might have been a better choice. So we went that route. She went to a vocational school that was run by the public school system and got her LPN license, licensed practical nurse. After about a year in the apartment, we moved away to another part of the state to purchase a home. The cost of living was lower, the home prices were lower, but the wages were lower too. This is turning into a life story, and I apologize. But we moved into our new house. We had bought this tiny 2-bedroom house built in the 60s, and we moved into our new Kingdom Hall. And mind you, I'm only about 2 years into this religion, and our original Kingdom Hall where I started, it was actually pretty wholesome. It was a very good relationship and camaraderie within our little community. But this one, this new Kingdom Hall, the judgment, we were judged immediately, in harsh judgment. When we moved into this community, we had very low paying jobs. I had got a job as a truck driver. My wife was a school nurse working 6 hours a day, and our finances weren't the greatest. So our clothing wasn't the greatest either, and my wife had like one pair of slide-on heels. And this one sister, she took great offense at my wife's heels. She wore long skirts, I mean, below the knee, but she totally made an issue of these backless, strapless heel sandals, and they were her only pair. It's not like she had a shoe collection. This was her only pair. And one day, the older sister, approaches my wife and says, "Oh, Elder so and so doesn't approve of these. They have to have the backstrap around the ankle, the back of the ankle. And I'll bring you some approved shoes next meeting." And we couldn't believe what we were hearing. So, like she said, that Thursday at the service meeting, she shows up with these old, I guess they were brown leather sandals with the buckle around the back, like a strap around the back of the ankle. And she said, here, you're welcome to have these. Brother Elder so-and-so, he approves of these. And my wife we were put out. We couldn't believe that this person made such an issue of these sandals, while other couples, other females, other girls, sisters are wearing the same sandals, but it was only us. It was only my wife's shoes that had the issue, that she made an issue of it. So she politely declined the offer and asked her to keep them. This sister she looked offended that we didn't take the sandals, and she just goes, okay, and just walks away. And we just didn't know what to make of the situation. We've never experienced that before, ever. So this started a trend of judgment. Everything was scrutinized. At the time, I had an old Cherokee that had like 200,000 miles on it. It finally died. We actually went out and purchased a used truck, a used basic F-150 with 2 doors. It was the base model with the crank windows, and the local, I guess every Kingdom Hall has an idiot. The local idiot waddles up to us and says, "Oh, you guys are big money. You guys have a brand new truck." And I told him, "No, it's a used truck, and it's the lowest base model truck. It doesn't even have a V8. It's got a V6, and it's got crank windows. What we have is a big car payment. It's not big money. You see the big car payment." It was incredible. The years went on, and we did our best to go to the meeting every day, every meeting. And then the recession of 2009 hit. That's when our Kingdom Hall, our meeting attendance started to slip. And it wasn't because we didn't want to go. It was more of, do we have enough gas to go to the hall and go to work? Or do we save the fuel that's in our cars to go to work? It was that and put fuel in the car or eat. Our diet started turning into a diet of rice and baked beans and maybe a tomato between us. And the only solution that the elders had for us was not to worry about these material things. Jesus didn't have a place to lay his head. You should strive to go to the Kingdom Hall and make the meetings. That's what's important. And these are brothers that owned businesses. One guy owned a roofing company. Another one, I think he had a body shop or worked on cars. He some kind of body repair work for himself. Another guy had his own barbershop. These were pretty affluent brothers, and they're telling us, wage workers, wage slaves, to not worry about these things. It's very easy to tell someone that when you live in an ivory tower in a gated community, and you're secure, and that was the best they can do for us. It was disheartening. It was very deflating. We lost our truck that we bought, our big money truck. We lost that truck. I bought a $400 Isuzu Rodeo to get me to work. My wife had her car that was pretty beat up and old too. But we just continued to believe and stick with the fact that our house was the most important thing. It was the only thing we had to show for all the years that we had put into it. My wife being laid off, we decided, let's capitalize on this and get your degree. So she went back to school. We had to get student loans for this, but she went back to school and made the most of the unemployment, and she got her degree. So I forgot to mention, as my wife was getting her degree, she took a class in sociology. It was required for her degree program. Sociology, which studies the emergence of humanity and human society. And she come home one day wide-eyed and almost like in shock. And she sits down and says, "You'll never know what I learned today. You'll never guess what I learned today." And I said, What did you learn today?" And she says, "I learned today that all throughout civilization's history, there have been instances of religion being used as a control mechanism for their populations. Religion has been weaponized to exploit and control people. And I agreed with her. I brought up the example of the People's Temple, which resulted in Jonestown. Those people were exploited. They worked them around the clock. They were abused sexually. They were ripped off of their life savings. Also, around this time, our meeting attendance had started to slip. Her father actually worked about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes from the house. He worked up the road, and he would never see her. He had to drive by our house to get on the highway to go to his house, and he'd never come see my wife. He was so self-absorbed with himself and his religion, and it broke my heart. There are times I'd be out there mowing the lawn, and I'd always hope to see him around the corner so he can come see his daughter, his firstborn child. I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish, and my English. Anyways, I'm getting on a tangent, and this was at a time that we were going to the meeting with some regularity. We weren't hitting every meeting, but we were pretty regular, just not 100%. This was around 2014. We had started missing the meetings around that time, and my wife, continued to go to school to pursue her bachelor's degree at almost gave away the name, at a local university, and with his limited contact with my wife, he'd only call about 3 times a year by this time. The only time he would call or text even, he would only ask, his only questions regarding her school would be, when do you finish? When do you finish? It was never, what classes are you taking? What did you learn? What school are you going to? He never cared. He never cared for anything that my wife was doing for her education. Because Jehovah's Witnesses do not appreciate higher education. They're against it. They have propaganda videos denouncing higher education. They don't want your eyes opened. It got to the point where I just sat my wife down one day and I said, "Hey, look, honey, I know this is your heritage and you were brought up in this." And I finally told her, I can't do this anymore. I'm living a lie, and I can't live with myself anymore. I can't bear myself to go out and knock on people's door and tell someone what they should be doing when I haven't believed it in a long time. I did for a little while. I wanted to. I always kind of saw through it. I was born into a church in Christendom. I forget the denomination, but it's religion and Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the same song. It's just a different tune. So that was about 2014, and her parents that was around the time they would call about 3 times a year, or text here and there. She would then graduate. It was graduation time for her at the university, and her family has a gay uncle, and he's been banished from the family for decades. And when my wife was very young, almost too young to remember, they had a relationship. This gay uncle would take her places and sightseeing, and they were growing up to have a great relationship till the father put an end to it because he was gay, and he was banished for forever. And I took it upon myself to find him on Facebook, and I did. And they started around that time, 2014, 2012, they started re-engaging that relationship, and he was so grateful, and he's a great man, and I appreciate him, and I appreciate that they have a relationship now, that they resumed that relationship from when she was a baby. He always kept the only picture that he had of her was when she was like a few years old, and he always kept that picture of her, this uncle. So they were up north in one of the northern states, and she told him about her graduation at this university with her bachelor's, and he was ecstatic. He flew down from New York for the day just to see her walk across the stage. And my wife also invited her parents to come see her at this graduation. And when they found out that this uncle was going to be there, the father threw a fit. He told her, "Why would you do such a thing? Why would you invite him? You know, for one thing, it's her graduation, and two, how many gay people are going to walk across that stage? How many gay people are going to be sitting in that audience with you? Why is the uncle the problem? You know, it's because he's family, and it's your way of manipulating the situation, the status quo." And he set an ultimatum. He told her to uninvite him so they can go. And my wife almost did it. She considered it, and until I called her on it. I said, "Hey," I told her, you're being manipulated. You know that, right?" And she thinks about it. She goes, "You're right." I told her, this is an ultimatum. He don't care. Your dad doesn't care. He's never cared about your studies. Why would you uninvite him and then your father not show up? He just wants you to uninvite him. He has no intention on coming. Maybe he does. Maybe he did. But why would you uninvite your uncle, the one guy that's willing to fly down for the day just to see you walk? And your father lives 30, 40 minutes away, works 5 minutes from the house. He won't come see you. Why would you trade that for your uncle? And she stuck to her guns. She didn't uninvite him, and they didn't show up. The parents never showed up to the graduation. It was sad. The whole situation is sad with her parents, but her uncle showed. We spent the evening. We went out to dinner. We caught up. It was very wholesome. The uncle's very wholesome. I appreciate him, and I appreciate them having a relationship again. This is just one of the examples that the Jehovah's Witness religion cultivates. It trains people to be manipulative and to be abusive. That's a form of abuse. Speaking of abuse, there were times prior to this where I'd ask for the father, while we were still on speaking terms, to help me with some minor repairs on the house, to change a faucet, to fix a leak. I forget what else. Small things. It wasn't huge. And when we were on speaking terms, his conditions to come help me with the house was, "I'll come over to help you if we can discuss your meeting attendance." And I said, I got to the point where I said, no thanks. I don't need this kind of help. I don't need your kind of help. I appreciate it anyway. Other times prior to this, while we're still talking, I got injured at work. I fell. I was in a freezer and I dislocated my knee. I ended up in the hospital, and my car was stuck at work. I think we were sharing a car at that time. I'm bouncing around, but this is just another anecdote that we asked him one night when I was good enough to walk. My car was at work for 3 days, and I asked him, "Hey, can you drive me to work so I can get my car? It's been there 3 days." And he says, "Oh, today's a meeting night. It's Thursday. I can't help you. I'll take you tomorrow, but I can't help you today." I said, "Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry. You go to your meeting, and we'll handle the car. Don't worry." This is the kind of help Jehovah's Witnesses offer. Their way of helping you is by not helping you, by throwing you under the bus. So you're forced to go back to the meetings so you can have that social network, so you can have that social support. Otherwise, if you don't go to the meeting, I won't help you get your car. I won't come see you at the hospital. I won't do whatever you need me to. You have to go to the meeting to have access to my friendship. There was a time after that when he ended up in the hospital himself. requiring emergency surgery for something. I forget what it was for, but he needed that surgery, and we went to go see him. It was after midnight. It was around 1 or 2, and we go up to the hospital, and my mother-in-law was there, and we sat in the lobby and just waited for the procedure to make sure he was okay. And we got on the subject of dogs. We have 2 German Shepherds, and they had at the time an old lab. And she, out of her mouth, the words, she said, "Oh yes, dogs, they are so good at demonstrating, they love you unconditionally, unconditional love." And I about fell out of my chair at those words. And just the fact that she knew that she knew what unconditional love was shocking. She knew what it was. She just wasn't capable of demonstrating unconditional love. So, after that night, he got out of the surgery just fine. He recovered, and things went back to shunning. We went back to shunning us right away. And so whatever. This video is getting longer than I want it to be, so I'll wrap it up. As of December 2022, we celebrated our 18th year of marriage, and after getting out of this Kingdom Hall business, I tell you, our relationship has never been bad, but we have bonded so much. Our bond, we are inseparable. We are soulmates. I mean, my wife, I've developed pretty well, coming in from the world, but my wife, man, she really developed her personality, and we've always had a good relationship, but we really have bonded over the years since getting out. We know each other on a different level. She had to go through emergency surgery herself some years back, and her parents were there at the time. And when they wheeled her away, I broke down and cried. I cried as they wheeled her away. I'm choking up now. And them 2 people, my in-laws, looked at me like I was a specimen. How does he have these feelings? That's the look I got. That's the look I got from those 2. They looked at me. They had no reaction to her being wheeled away in the gurney for surgery. And I was in tears. I was crying. And one of the nurses says, "Wow, I hope my husband reacts like you do if I ever go to surgery." I was flabbergasted at the lack of emotion that these 2 people, these 2 specimens, have demonstrated. They looked at me like I was a specimen. I was in the wrong for having feelings. I'll never forget that. That was very abstract and alien to me. But not only do we have our 18th anniversary just behind us, we're having a baby. We're having a baby in a few weeks. So I wanted to start this video series or podcast series. I hope to make more. I hope you enjoyed the video, or the pod. It's not much of a video. I'd like to invest more into more visual, but I wanted to get this video out quickly before we get too far into the new year. I'm starting my new class, a new math class today, Tuesday. I hope to have this video up on Tuesday, and I'd like to make more. So if you want to hear more, maybe see more, subscribe, like. I'd like to stay anonymous for now, because even to this day, I still hold a candle for my in-laws. I still hope that they, come. I don't know. I don't want to say come to their senses. That's their language. But I still hold the candle. I still hope that there's a future. I don't care so much for me, but for my wife and her family to have a relationship. It's so unusual. I'm blown away. But thank you for watching. Thank you for hearing me out. I'll catch you on the next one.